If you have young children, you'll find this podcast very useful. And even if you don't have kids, we hope you'll enjoy our children's story, which is set in the beautiful Brazilian rainforest. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés con Reza y Craig.
Hello, and if you are a new listener to the podcast, you're very, very welcome. And if you are a regular listener, welcome back. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with 50 years of teaching between us, Reza and I will help you improve your English and take it up to the next level. How are you, mate?
I'm doing fine. I'm enjoying this lovely time of the year. It's May right now. Goodness knows, listener, when you're listening to this podcast, because we record them in advance, but it's May in Valencia, which is a lovely time of the year. Would you agree?
I do agree. It's beautiful. And I've been quite busy with my conversation class with a lovely group of students. But even so, I'm managing to get outside, enjoy the weather, go for walks, take my bike out and cycle around. So yeah, it's a lovely time of year. By the way, if you are interested in doing a conversation course and practicing your speaking, go to englishmasterclass.net and sign up for the waiting list. I'll get in touch by email when the next course is ready to launch. Reza, what's first this week?
Well, first of all, we've got a voice message from Guille.
Hello, Reza. How are you? I'm glad to at least talk to you through SpeakPipe. I've been listening to your podcast for about 4 years now. I started in 2018, and I remember because I get hooked with your pronunciation and your way of speaking a bit slower. I like a lot the way you speak your crispy English that usually the Spanish speaker we don't pronounce so hardly the T's and the D's and the pronunciation you make the S. And I was here with my baby that I'm taking your advice of exposing him to the language as soon as possible, and since he was, I don't remember now, about 9 months ago, I'm speaking him in English all the time. And it's true that he's able to recognize more or less the same words than in Spanish. So I would like if you could make a podcast or several telling a story or maybe reading a tale or several tales just for children, because I made a search. I look for Reza Craig children podcasts, children, and I didn't find anything. So if you could make something for the children, because according to the experts, if they listen to the same thing several times, they memorize the words and all that. So maybe the podcasts you make are a bit, I don't know, boring for him, but a tale or something easy to, with an easy English and easy to understand, would be very nice. Thank you so much for your work, and I'm very happy to at last talk to you. Thank you. Bye bye. A huge hug for both.
Hello, Guille. Thank you very much for sending in your message. We really enjoyed listening to it. It was very clear, and it was lovely to hear your son in the background. You said it was a boy, so a very young son playing around, which was lovely. And I really like the fact that you are speaking to your son in English when possible, so that he's getting used to the sounds of English. And we have prepared a story for you and your son and anyone else who's listening with children. Reza, any comments on the message?
Thanks very much for your message, Guille. It was nice to hear you and your son. And it was pretty clear. However, there are a couple of things we could improve, I think. So you said that you get hooked with the podcast, and we understand what you mean, but actually, first of all, it's got to be the past, yeah? I got hooked, yeah? Because you can't get hooked on something repeatedly. You get hooked and then that's it, you're hooked. So you got hooked, and the preposition with hooked is on. So you should say that I got hooked on the podcast.
Another thing you said, which we also understood, but we can improve a little bit, you said, I like a lot the way you speak. And I think that's a direct translation from Spanish. I think in other languages, in Portuguese and Italian, maybe the word order is very flexible, but it's more common to say, I like the way you speak a lot. So at the end, that a lot is an adverbial expression similar to very much. Put it at the end of the clause. I like the way you speak a lot. Or I like the way you speak very much. Or you could use the adverb really before the verb. I really like the way you speak is another way to say the same thing.
And one other little thing I would mention, grammar point, you said that you didn't found anything about children's stories. So you're talking in the past, but remember, Guille, that when it's a negative, didn't, the verb goes in the infinitive form. So we say, I didn't find. So if it's positive, you would say, I found. But if it's negative, I didn't find. So you didn't find any podcasts about children's stories.
And one final thing, thank you for remembering the preposition to after listen, because twice you said listening to, so thank you for that. We don't lose any money because we lose €5 every time someone forgets that preposition with listen. But you forgot it with speak. So you said speaking him in English. Remember the preposition to, you should say speaking to him in English or speaking to my son in English.
But we don't lose any money for that, do we, Craig?
No, it's only listen. That was the big mistake that we had, especially last year. But I think this year it's much, much better. Nearly every message, people are remembering that because they know it costs us money when they make the mistake.
Just to remind you, a mystery donor gave us €100 for the two of us to enjoy a meal. But we lose €5 every time somebody forgets to say to with listen. So we want to go to a nice restaurant. We don't really want to get a takeaway from KFC if we can avoid it.
No, we don't want to go to a fast food restaurant like McDonald's. And to know about fast food, listen to last week's podcast, episode 417, in which we spoke about fast food. We would much prefer a nice restaurant at the end of the year. So keep remembering those prepositions with listening and also with speaking.
Yes, we prefer slow food. And talking about slow, things don't come much slower than a sloth. Let us tell you about the word sloth. It's an animal, but it also could be a person. A sloth is a very, 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 very slow animal. That's why we call it a sloth. It's lazy. It doesn't do much. So if a person is slothful or a person is simply a sloth, we're comparing them to that famous South American animal which just likes to sleep and lie around all day. So we're going to use a slow sloth in our children's story today.
Yes, and we have two animals in our children's story. One is a sloth, which I think is one of your favourite animals.
I love sloths.
And the other one is one of my favourite animals, which is a bear. Now, be careful of the pronunciation. It's not beer, which you drink, B-E-E-R. It's bear, E-A-R, bear. The same pronunciation as hare or there. So we have a bear who likes to eat as well and is a little bit overweight. So it's a fatty bear. Now, bears have paws, which is a name for feet when you're an animal, like a dog or a cat or a bear. So bears, dogs, cats, etc., they have 4 paws, P-A-W.
Yes, that may be strange for Spanish speakers. Because you don't have a word, or not a common word that I know of, for paw. Have you thought about it? In Spanish, you talk about la pata del perro, and you include what we call the leg and the paw. We distinguish between the leg and the bit which would be a hand for a human is a paw. But in Spanish, you just call all of it pata. You don't have a word for paw. That's curious, isn't it?
That is strange, yeah. And the pronunciation of paw is a long vowel sound, the same as the past of see, which is saw, and paw. I saw a bear with 4 paws.
Another word you're going to hear in our story is to shake. S-H-A-K-E. It means to move something from side to side, to make it vibrate, if you like. So you can shake a tree, for example, and perhaps the fruit will fall from the tree. So to shake, to make something move.
Milkshake.
Exactly. Milkshake. We get the milk and we shake it.
Another word which has the same vowel sound as paw but a different spelling is saw. S-O-R-E. The same pronunciation as the past of the verb to see, but with a different meaning. Saw. Now, if something is sore, it hurts just a little bit. It bothers you. For example, you may fall over in the street and you hit your leg. So the same day or the next day, maybe your leg is a little sore. Or you go to the dentist and they remove a tooth, they take out one of your teeth, and the next day your mouth is sore. It hurts a little bit, it bothers you. It's not a nice feeling.
This word is very interesting in terms of pronunciation, I think, because here you've got on this podcast Craig, who's from the south of England, and me, I'm from Belfast. And for people from Belfast and Ireland and the United States and Canada, in fact, the vowel sound in paw and sore is not the same, but it is in Oxford English Dictionary. So if you're Irish, you say paw, P-A-W, like Craig. But S-O-R-E, you say sore.
Sore. So you're pronouncing the R a lot more.
Yep. Let me say 2 words for you. S-A-W, saw.
Saw.
S-O-R-E, sore.
Saw.
Not the same pronunciation for me. For you it is.
Yeah.
But for me and North America, which is a lot of people, it's not. Shall I put on an American accent? Saw and sore. Not the same pronunciation for Irish and North Americans.
So why don't you repeat this sentence after me and see if the listeners can notice the difference. The bear had a sore paw.
The bear had a sore paw.
Yeah, slightly different, isn't it?
Slightly, not a lot, but there is a difference.
Yeah.
What about this? I saw the bear with the sore paw.
I saw the bear with the sore paw.
See, you pronounce the word S-A-W and S-O-R-E the same.
Exactly the same.
But for me, the difference. I saw the bear with the sore paw.
Yeah, it's different.
So slightly different. And if I were an American, I think it'd be something similar, but not exactly the same as Irish. I saw the bear with a sore paw. It's going to be different sounds as well.
For sure.
So interesting.
So we have 2 or 3 more words from our story. The next word is branch. Now, we had the word branch in last week's episode about fast food restaurants, because famous fast food in international restaurants that are multinationals like Burger King, McDonald's, KFC, they have branches. Banks have branches. They have businesses that are the same or very similar in different cities and different towns, many different branches. Well, the word branch comes from a tree. A tree has branches. The tree has the trunk at the bottom, the big thick part of the tree, and as you go up the tree, then you see branches of the tree coming out from the trunk.
We're also going to use a phrasal verb in our story. That's a verb that goes with a preposition. To settle down. To settle down means to become quiet, still, stop moving about.
You can also settle down in a new city, can't you, if you move house or change countries?
Right, you kind of establish yourself, so you stop moving around. Yeah.
Similar meaning. And our final word is belly, B-E-L-L-Y, which is a part of the body. It's another word for your stomach, where the food goes when you eat. It goes to your stomach or belly. Belly is a colloquial word that many children use as a synonym for stomach.
And thank goodness this is a podcast and not on YouTube, because if it were a video, you would notice that Craig and I have sizable bellies. But thankfully it's purely audio, so you cannot see our bellies. Phew.
But we're both on diets to reduce the size of our bellies. So, Guillet, here's our story for your son and for anybody who might be listening to the podcast with their children. Fatty Bear and Sleepy Sloth. It was a hot, sunny day in Brazil. Reza, the sleepy sloth, was fast asleep in his favourite tree.
Suddenly, Fatty Bear Craig shook the tree and woke up Sleepy Sloth Reza. "Hey,
Shouted Sleepy Sloth Reza.
what's going on down there? What are you doing? I'm having my siesta."
Stop complaining and go back to sleep.
Replied Fatty Bear as he kept shaking the tree.
There are ants up there in the branches. I want to eat some ants. I'm hungry,
"Eat this,"
said Sleepy Sloth Reza as he threw a huge mango at Fatty Bear's head. Ouch!
cried Fatty Bear as he rubbed his sore head with his paw.
That hurt,
"Good,"
said Sleepy Sloth Reza as he settled back down on his branch and closed his eyes.
"Now go away." Fatty Bear Craig was angry and started to climb the tree. But Sleepy Sloth Reza was very high. He was right at the top of the tree, where the air was fresh and the view was pretty. Fatty Bear Craig kept climbing. Up and up and up he climbed. He looked down and everything seemed so small. But he climbed some more and soon he needed to rest. Fatty Bear Craig sat down on a branch and looked at the wonderful Amazon jungle. As far as his bare eyes could see were beautiful green trees and pretty colourful birds.
It's really nice up here,
Thought Fatty.
Now I understand why Sleepy Sloth Reza likes to sleep up here, so high in the trees above the jungle.
As he was sitting on the branch, enjoying the view, he noticed a lot of bees buzzing around the branch. Buzz, 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 they went, buzzing around Fatty's head.
Honey!
Gasped Fatty Bear.
Where's the honey? Show me the honey!
And sure enough, on the other side of the tree, there was a big hole. And in the hole, where the bees lived, there was lots of honey. Fatty Bear Craig put his paw inside and pulled out a pawful of fresh, sweet, tasty honey.
Delicious.
Said Fatty Bear.
A perfect afternoon snack.
With his big belly full of honey and a very sticky paw, Fatty Bear Craig slowly climbed down the tree to the bottom and lay down under the tree. Now it was Fatty Bear Craig who was sleepy, and he had forgotten all about Sleepy Sloth Reza and about the mango and his sore head. Fatty Bear Craig listened to the lovely soft sounds of the jungle around him. Then he closed his eyes and went to sleep.
And now it's your turn to practice your English. We hope you enjoyed our story of Fatty Bear Craig and Sleepy Sloth Reza. If you have a story to tell us, we would love to hear it. We have had you send stories to us in the past. I remember Jose has sent in some lovely stories. So if you have a story that you want to tell us, we would love to feature it and include it in a future podcast. Now, with the SpeakPipe service, remember you only have 90 seconds. So if your story is longer than that, then send it to us as an MP3 audio file attached to an email. If you want to send us an ordinary voice message with an idea for a future podcast, you can go to SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. Where do people send their emails, Reza?
If you want to write to craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
And if you are interested in a paid course to improve your English on the Mansion Ingles website, you'll find lots of courses to buy in the store. Go to store.mencioningles.net.
As always, we want to give a big thank you to all of you who are helping us by supporting this podcast on the Patreon scheme. If you're interested, you might like to join the Patreon program. People on it make a donation as little as $1.20 per month. The 20 cents is to cover VAT tax. And to say thank you to those people for their donation, we give them an instant access to recent audio transcriptions. If you're interested, have a look. There's a link in the show notes. It's Patreon, that's Patreon, patreon.com/Ingles podcast.
And this summer, we're recording this in May 2022. In a month or two, I do plan to have some special activities for our Patreon supporters. So keep an eye on the emails. I'll be letting you know what's going on for Patreon supporters because we really do appreciate your support. And I want to do some more activities for our supporters. So we'll be doing that with Patreon supporters very soon. And we want to say thank you to our latest supporters who have recently joined us. They are Juan Lopez, Manuel Roman, Fabiola Clavero Fran Otero, Manme Diaz, Chema Lopez Belido, Isabel M., and special thanks to Luisa del Valle Arias, who has donated more than the minimum $1.20. Thank you, Luisa. And thank you to all of you newcomers and to everyone who is supporting us on Patreon. What's next week, Reza?
Next week, my hearties, we've got pirates and pirate vocabulary.
Aye, we have. I'm looking forward to that. So come and join us next week for some pirate speak and pirate vocabulary. Until then, thank you for listening. Today, it's goodbye from Reza.
And it's goodbye from Craig.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please help us by mentioning it to a friend. The music in this podcast is by Pitts, and the track is called See You Later.